lucky day.
I did?
No, I did.
Oh, okay, me too.
Okay, it is 4 p.m. and I will call the Committee on Public Safety to order. Please have the record reflect that all committee members are present. Could I have a motion for the January 28th minutes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we are to item number 4, public comment on agenda items. If you are here specifically for a property that is on today's agenda, we will give you the opportunity to speak at that time. Seeing no other public comment, we can move forward to discussion and action items. Item B, we have a resolution to set a show cause hearing, orders for Make Safe or Demolish 108 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. Do we have the property owners present? Okay, if you'd like, you can come take a seat at the table.
Can I get your names for the record while you're coming out? My name is Lisa. Oh, I believe I spoke to you on the phone.
That's you.
Yes.
Nice to put a name to a face, a face.
And you are?
James.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Raleigh, do you have a report or update on this property for us?
I have partially. I'm waiting for the packet with my PowerPoint to open, and so I didn't come prepared with that open, so it's downloading. Right? Oh, sure. You have that.
Nope.
Just for this, I'll
They
get
got
this one
mine.
back after.
I reviewed the information.
You got,
so-
Lisa's gonna save me as it's
Okay.
near its completion. And then I'll go over the recent. Great to see both of you as well. 108 South MLK, originally red tagged in June of 2017. This is a fire damaged property. It later joined the NEAT team same year in October. Because of the fire damage was what made it eligible for MSD. And so it was heard earlier this year, and there was a hearing ordered for 60 days. Obviously, as you heard me at the last committee, but I'll say it again for the record for today. To comply with that hearing, it would either have to have been renovated and suitable for occupancy or demolished. And so since neither of those objectives were achieved at that 60-day mark, that's what triggered it to be then referred to City Council and on committee's agenda for today. You'll see in the internal update I gave all of the committee members, there's been some, certainly some permit activity at this property. I'm going to more focus on the more recent permit activity. There was a roof replacement in 21, but we had an open building permit. We still do have an open building permit that was issued in 23, and then another one in January of 24. We have not seen anything since then. I think you may hear from the owners, though, about their plans and efforts. And then we completed a NEAT team last month in January. Property remains secure, no recent work activity. I will note, you see the recommendation, though, is to move to set a show cause hearing. I follow that similar to what you guys did with the last one, and that you'll likely hear from the owner and some efforts that they're looking to make, but that'll still give them plenty of time to come back before the committee. The only item I'll note, and I imagine you'll hear it from both of them too, is this is one of the few remaining, if not one of the only remaining homes in the city that was designed by Darius Moon. And certainly influential person in terms of significant architecture here in the city. And we're certainly blessed to have some of the few remaining structures designed by Darius. However, it is not registered state, federally, or even locally as historic to that name.
Okay, and if you have comments for us or anything that you'd like to add at this time, please feel free.
Yes. We are trying to get funding for the house. The house it doesn't look anything like these pictures. We've had it we've had it gutted 3 times now. So it's pretty safe to walk in. We've got windows on hold because we were looking to make it safe while we procure money to rehab it. It is one of the Darius B. Moon houses that's in this book. I don't know if any of you know about the history, but this is the house back in the 60s. So we want to get it, have you seen this book? We want to get it back to that point or even better. Here's our proposal. There's two, I can leave this here. There's 2 copies in here. I've given Raleigh a copy. I'm currently working with Rachel Elsinger, and we're trying, Rachel Elsinger and a guy named Bruce. I don't know Bruce's last name, but he used to work with the city, helping people to get money for bigger projects. And we need time. We need time. We purchased it just before the pandemic. And after the pandemic, you could not get anyone to do construction. Does it need construction? Yes, it does. It needs it badly. There's 3 letters that I have here. One is from Alan Fox, one is from Eric Schritzing, and one is from Dale Schrader. And they are asking for the opportunity to have that house refurbished. It is the first house that Darius, his name is not Darius, his name is Darius. Darius Moon built for himself in Lansing. It has a lot of historical prevalence to it. The house that he lived in when he passed away was right next door to it, and that's the house they moved onto 216 Huron Street. So we're working on it. We're working.
Are those copies of letters
Yes.
that you'd like to submit?
Yes, they are. There's 2 sets of copies there. And
Okay, I'll take one. Okay, thank you.
the most movement that we've seen and non-door shedding has been since Roxy has been with the Land Bank. He has been very instrumental in hooking or connecting me with people that can help us. So that's what we're doing. We're waiting. We actually have our window guy. We were thinking that we could make it safe, and one of the ways to make it safe were to install the windows. We're doing the windows in phases, 1st floor, 2nd floor, basement. And on the 1st floor, after those windows are installed, we're doing the doors. And then from there, we can begin to build out.
I guess this is a question for Raleigh.
Sure.
Where this property stands now, I know there's been efforts and obviously there are a lot of interested stakeholders in this property, but can you give us an idea of what it would take to make this property safe,
Sure.
according to the standards that we have to work within?
Sure. And I've met Lisa and team on the property. We've walked the property, been in the home, certainly significant fire damage. I commend them on their desire to save a home like this, right? I think it's worth mentioning. I appreciate her doing so. The significance of the person who designed and built the home, but it is fire damage, right? And so the amount to bring it up, it depends on the level of finish qualities they want to do and so forth. I think the latest effort was perhaps maybe a single family conversion, at least interim, maybe future longer plans that might incorporate some commercial, but trying to offer them a pathway that brings the home that's, or at least allows for us to remove the red tag. So it takes some significant work and some considerable amount of funding. I think the owners they're talking to all of the right people. Rachel Elsing is with MEDC, so she's our regional representative for that. Certainly, I think you're familiar with the others she's mentioned. We're talking in the hundreds of thousands would be our initial estimate. You'll see on the spreadsheet, we estimated at minimum just over 100,000. I think with some of their plans, I think they've got even larger numbers in terms of what they'd like to see. So it would take some significant time and money to bring this home to a level where we feel comfortable offering occupancy.
So in terms of your planning, do you have a time frame, like a specific time frame where you feel that you could make this home safe or this property safe? And I'll offer questions up to the committee members as well. I'm just curious because we're working within this timeline for the make safe and demolish process. There are next steps, and there is some time here that we can work within, but in order to make it at least safe, do you have a concept of when you would be able to do that, or to at least meet with the minimum standards that Raleigh had just suggested, somewhere around the $100,000, just over that range?
If making it safe is putting windows throughout that 1st floor and redoing the doors, that can be done within 3 months. Whatever comes after that, I would need to know. I don't know what all the requirements are to make it safe.
Raleigh, can you speak to that?
Sure. I would say the current standard that the city uses in terms of making it safe for demo, right? I think we all know what demolition means. Permit and it comes down. Making it safe would be suitable for occupancy. So unfortunately, in this case, windows and doors wouldn't be enough. We would need to see significant work within the interior of the home to allow us to remove the red tag, meaning somebody can legally, safely be present inside that has nothing to do with any construction related work. Now, I want to speak for the members of this committee, but if depending on the progress and what that plan looks like, they have the ability to table and give you said time, but they would need to, some sort of progress in that. So I think windows and doors is a great first step, but for me to feel comfortable saying occupancy has been achieved, most all, final permits would be that objective on our end.
Occupancy will not be under 6 months. It wouldn't be. It's a historical property. I'm not a slumlord. I'm not going to put a Band-Aid on lipstick on a pig. I'm not going to do that.
I appreciate that. Any other questions from?
The windows on the first floor they're waiting for us. Those alone are $12,000. And no, that's incorrect. That's what I still owe. I've already put a deposit down. That's the first one that floats. That's the first floor. So I can bring it to where nobody can get through. Nobody's going to hurt themselves. But the back wall where the burn is, all of that, you've got to come back over, Raleigh. When we did that last air out,
Right.
It's amazing. I've never seen an empty room look so good. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. If you say, let's get good doors on there, good windows on there, give us 6 months. If you say somebody's going to live in there, you got to give us a year.
You said build out. What are you building out? Are you building onto this property? What is the intent of this property if it was to get fixed?
When did I say build out?
During your comments,
What did I say? What did I say?
something build out. I have build out question mark. And then the other part of that is what are your intentions? Is this going to be a rental?
It's two apartments upstairs. It's a coffee shop downstairs. It's multi-purpose use. And it's a B&B on the back end.
I see in your paper, September 2019, when you purchased it quickly and you didn't look inside the house.
No, we did look in the house. I looked in the house with Alan.
The other thing was these letters were from 2 years ago.
Yes, when
How come we didn't start then on this property?
Can I say something and you not be offended? When I first bought this property and I called to check on it, it's because I happen to be who I am. Oh, what are you going to do? Buy it and rent it to low-income people? And this is people from the city that I'm dealing with.
That
I
wasn't
walked
me.
in. I didn't say it was you. I just said not be offended by what I'm saying. Some people get a little antsy. So to hit as many brick walls as I've hit and many doors shut, I've had Eric send me places and say, Lisa, they can help you stabilize this. And then to keep hearing, unfortunately, that paperwork you see right there, we applied for that grant 4 times. Now I finally have somebody who's going to work with me. Then there was a pandemic. Nobody expected that. That was 2 years old. Then I had somebody this year who said they would love to do it, but they probably couldn't get to it for a year.
Appreciate all that. It is heartbreaking to see a historical building in such shape, but
You know what's worse?
I'm sorry.
You know what's worse? To have so much of Lansing's history demolished. I spoke to someone who worked for the city, and they thought it was great that they had demolished 200 houses in the Lansing area. That breaks my heart.
I appreciate that. Those are all my questions.
Yeah, so this is pretty easy for me. First of all, let me ask you a question. Raleigh. This is fire damaged, and this has been neat team since 2017. It was bought in 2019. I struggle already with the fact that the county went in and they decided that a property with the SEV of 5,700, estimated cost of repairs of 117,000, that they didn't determine that this might need to be demolished, and this became our problem. But in any event, they sold it. And so this thing's been sitting there since 2019, after the sale, obviously. Why did and I'm struggling when I look at all of these, I'm struggling with the fact that we have fire damaged properties. They're giving 60-day recommendation or 60-day make safe for demolish, 90-day make safe for demolish. I've never seen that before. So I've been on this committee a number of times. What I'm concerned is that because we now have basically said, look, you know, as the demo board, you have not been reporting with state statute. You need to render a decision. So now it seems like instead of making the extra time in for property owners at that front end, that maybe they're doing it through this process, which I struggle with a little bit. They need to render a decision. And if it's fire damaged, I can't tell them what to do, but I think Dave Mueller was the hearing officer in this case. It'd be fantastic if they kicked it out and let us start our process.
Sure.
So that's just input.
Sure.
So that's one thing. The second piece is there have been 9 enforcement actions on this particular property since it was purchased. So I struggle with that. I struggle with the fact that we have work without permit. We've had disabled vehicles, we've had board ups, we've had trash issues, we've had grass issues. Probably the saddest thing is that this area, if you look at the census tract, is an impoverished area. The fact that I just can't believe that if this was an affluent neighborhood, that we would let a property like that rot in that space and have those types of premise conditions for 6 years running now. So for me, this is about as easy as it gets. I'm going to make a motion that we move forward, not with a 60-day as recommended, but with a 30-day make safe for demolish. Oh, I'm sorry, this is setting public hearing. I'm going to move forward that we set a public hearing for March 10th, and my recommendation will be a 30-day.
Sure. And I would maybe comment and maybe, well, Lisa, 60-day comment from me earlier, that was Dave's order, right? That was his order. No, my recommendation is just to move to set a show cause here.
Okay.
If it gets to the point where it goes to full council for a vote, I believe fire damage 25 days.
I just struggle, and anybody that's in this room, if you live in, I don't care if you live in Hopedale, High, Diamonddale, I don't care if you live in a more affluent area of Lansing, but we are the absolute gatekeepers and guardians and stewards of these neighborhoods. We're not living out in neighborhoods. And so this would not be okay in your neighborhood. It certainly would be okay in mine. It's not going to be okay in theirs.
Can I say something?
If the chair wants you to talk. Yeah.
So we have a motion on the table. We're going to vote on the motion, and then you can have a few moments to address, and then we do have some additional information for you. So we have a proper motion to set the show cause hearing for 108 South Martin Luther King. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. So please, just a moment, and then we'll follow up with some additional information for you.
So what
What
are
are your
your
comments?
Oh, you want my comments now?
Yes.
Okay, so all of the things that you named, all of those things didn't happen while I owned it.
All since 2019, I looked.
And I didn't know about it. Okay. A lot of things we didn't start hearing things until the new set of people came in. That's when we start hearing things, okay? Now, another question is, if I were to get that back wall fixed or replaced where the fire damage is, would that be something?
So what I'd like you to do is work with Raleigh on the specifics of what you can do immediately to get a good amount of progress to make this property safe. I believe you or your team could give information or have that discussion a little more thoroughly on what that may take. But the next immediate step that you should be aware of is this has now been set for a show cause hearing on March 10th, Monday, March 10th at 7 p.m. What this is going to give you the opportunity to do is come before the full council. So it will be on our agenda. You will have the opportunity to address council during public comment and advocate much as you did here today to the full body before we move on to any next steps. So you have between now and March 10th to work with Raleigh or ED&P and sort of come up maybe with additional plans or maybe modify the plans that you've had to work within. But at that point, you would be able to address all 8 of us in the council chambers on March 10th. Okay. Yes, Lisa?
May I just clarify something procedurally?
Yes.
Okay, so after it comes out of this committee, it moves to full council to vote to set the public hearing.
Thank you.
So that vote will take place on February 24th
The show cause.
with the show cause hearing
Right.
being on March 10th. So it'll be on the agenda. You'll see it on an agenda for city council to set the show cause hearing on the 24th
Thank
and
you.
then the actual show cause hearing on March 10th.
And procedurally, let me ask this question. In terms of what we're doing here, we're setting a show cause hearing for a make safe demolish, not necessarily a 30 or 60 or correct?
Just generally the make safe or demolish, and then from there it comes back to this
And then
committee
recommendation Out of this
to
committee.
make a
we approve.
recommendation. That's correct.
Perfect.
How much time does that entail?
The entire-
From this point.
Sure. So the next major milestone will be, you'll go before all of council to do a similar hearing like you had before the hearing officer, right? So your opportunity to talk amongst all of council members. And then it'll come back to this committee, and at that time, it's the pleasure of these 3 folks, a majority vote, to decide if it gets voted out of committee, if they table to give you more time. And so I'm happy to meet with you again, as the chairwoman mentioned. We can go over some of that in terms, but I can't speak for the committee what will happen at that next committee meeting after the show cause hearing. So whatever that next meeting is after March
Yeah,
10th.
if we're looking at the full span of time, it'll be about a month and a half between now and any final decision. End of March.
So. Another question. So if, when I meet with you, and it's make safe or demolish, or whatever you determine we can do to make it safe
Sure.
within a span of time, will we have to come back in here and you agree on what we've come up with?
Well, that depends on what it is, but I would like for in the interim, you to work with Raleigh and he can explain more of what that process is. But we do have an agenda here to keep, and so we're going to have to move on to our next property at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item C, a resolution to set a show cause hearing, orders to make safe or demolish 1612 Martin Street. Do we have the property owners for Martin Street here?
Shanta Edwards.
Okay, Raleigh, if you could
Sure.
give us your.
Happy to. 1612 Martin Street, very unfortunately had a tree fall on it. And actually, the homeowner was killed in that event. And so, it has been red tagged since that date in August of 23 due to that fact. It since made its way through the MSD process. And was voted out with an order to make it safe or demolish property. In this case, there is no effort to be able to make that safe. Truly, it's demo, removal of debris that exists there. So that's why it's there before you today. So there's been no effort in our office from the current property representative, which is Willard Payne, to apply for a demolition permit. We've engaged with him over the last year, trying to point him in direction of monetary help. That had been a financial issue that they had been dealing with. I don't believe there was homeowners insurance. So we offered as best as we can to point them in those directions. But since then, we do not have a demolition permit that's been applied for. So absolutely, we would vote to recommend that you vote to set a show cause hearing. We'll just offer one piece of information as it applies to this, just to be aware. Due to the severity of what had occurred in August of 23, there is still equipment owned by the Lansing Fire Department that is within all of the rubble. And so that will be coordinated effort of whether the homeowner finally does the removal, if not the city, just so the department can get back some of that
Do we know why Lansing equipment is still on the
Can't be,
property?
can't be removed safely by the fire department at this point. So it was removed or used in the moment to remove the body and personal belongings, but the equipment has since had to stay, just because it's a safety hazard for them to get back on.
Oh, no, go first.
Okay.
One and two.
I will be respectful, but I was there the night she died. I was there with the neighbors when the fire department took her body out, 4 hours. I don't know how this was not an imminent danger. I would hope that your office is looking to redefine what imminent danger is. This should have been torn down. And from my notes on the demo board, when the family came, they did have insurance money. They already collected. Was my note on that. But this is frustrating, Raleigh. I mean, the neighbors, and I'm not saying it's your fault. I get it wasn't your call. But whoever made the judgment that this wasn't an imminent danger, the fire department can't even go in. It's heartbreaking, right? Because I talked to those neighbors over there that were friends with Miss Payne for 60 years. And they look at it every day. I certainly hope that this is a learning opportunity. And, I am glad to see that we're finally here at this point with this house. But just it is incredibly heartbreaking all around.
Do we have any notes from the building official as to why this was considered not an imminent danger?
Not anything that I brought prepared, but I can speak high level. For those in the room who aren't familiar, a building official is a state licensed position.
Right.
And so John Snyder is the city of Lansing's building official. That's a license he obtains from the state of Michigan, is maintained through continuing education, and a high level understanding of what a building official can order emergency demolition. His interpretation of that imminent means it's at risk of falling onto another property. I know there's been conversation about moving debris and so forth, but in his position, when he inspected the home, and I believe he inspected it twice at the request of some members, is that it's not falling imminently on another person's property that would put their lives at risk. And we can argue that point all day. In many ways it has been, and I appreciate and respect that, but in this example, that decision is left to the building official to make. So he did not feel comfortable ordering an emergency demo because it had already, in his words, basically fallen in on itself. So then the MSD process comes into play. And as the three of you are well versed on, I didn't come to the department until December of 24, not blaming anybody prior, but there's a different version of make safer demo rules that the department was doing. And so unfortunately, they believed they had to wait the 90 days before even going to get a hearing and so forth. We know now we don't have to wait that. Certainly, if I could have gone back in time, this would have been for the demo board that September.
Ask a couple questions. Why did once it finally did get in front of the demo board, do we know why Dave gave them 90 days?
I don't have the minutes in front of me to,
Okay.
I don't know if you reference any of that. So it's one of those, and not here to arbitrate.
So it got tabled, then on August 22nd, we gave them until November 19th.
Right.
Wow. And what do we have to do when we have a property like that? John decides it's not in danger. Thank God we didn't have a property like this in my neighborhood when I was young, because I would have been off that front fence in about 2 minutes.
Sure.
And you would have been trying to extract me with the fire department, right? So what do we do? That fence is it? That little teeny chain link fence? That's all we have to do to secure that property? Right. Wow. Okay. So we need what? We need some changes in state law. That is insane that can sit in that condition. That is a problem.
Mayor just slid a friendly note worth mentioning. Whether it would have changed, I don't think it would have changed John's decision, certainly, but this was caught up in probate court. I don't believe anybody from the families here, but also in terms of when we tried to serve the MSD hearing notice and whatnot, we were stuck in the scheduled probate court, but ultimately Willard Payne, to our knowledge, has been identified as the representative of the property.
And so if it would have been determined in imminent danger, right, what would have been our process?
Sure, absolutely. If in that moment, whether that day, if not the next day, the next available contractor, we have the city then has the jurisdiction power to come in and tear down said structure. And, similar to what we do, if you make an order at this level and the property owner doesn't comply, we would go through that bidding process and award I haven't had to do an emergency demo, so I don't know if we get some privileges to not have to follow maybe a bidding process and be able to just go direct to contract, but ultimately the city would have the ability to remove the structure and then assess that cost back onto the property owner.
And this isn't your fault, Raleigh, so.
I
can't.
I recognize the seat I'm in, so it's okay.
But if this, you might never see, right, in imminent danger, if this didn't qualify. Sure. Wow, okay.
All right.
It's just, is John the only one that makes that decision? Is there another licensed person that, I mean, if the people that rush into a building in a fire do not want to go back into this building, I don't know. So is there more than just John? Is there another building official?
There's not necessarily another building official that there are others on staff who have the building official designation. Ultimately, John's the manager of that department. And so outside of me as his direct supervisor or the mayor asking him to revisit or reconsider.
Which I did, the mayor refused.
Well, I know John did a minimum two inspections. I know he did
Yes,
the original one,
yes.
and then after discussing, we asked him to go again.
Yes.
But certainly John talks with his whole team, whether that's the building team, any of the trades dependent. I don't want to, I don't want to speak for him because he's not here, but in my conversations with him, his ruling or lack thereof in terms of qualifying this as an emergency demo doesn't underestimate our belief or agreement that this is still a problem that needs to be addressed. I think it's unfortunate that, Lee, that you had that decision wasn't rendered, and then unfortunately you had the department operating under different MSD procedures that certainly drew out this timeline, which if we were rendering today's procedures outside of any delays from probate court, this would have been before you and the order would have been issued a year ago.
And I know this isn't your fault, so I appreciate it. I will be clear that I did call you twice. You did have an inspection twice. And I, in fact, called the mayor after.
Yes.
John said no, and the mayor sided with John. And so, this is where we're at with this property now. So
And I do apologize.
Yeah,
There
and
was a
yeah.
minutes, I do believe the hearing officer was Kimberly Shaw, so I
Yeah.
apologize. I think I said Dave.
Oh, so I would make a motion to set a show cause hearing.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Show cause hearing on December 10th. I'm sorry, March 10th.
No, not
Sorry about that. So many dates throwing around.
Now
we're on to item D, resolution to set a show cause hearing on 1212 Parkview Avenue. Do we have the property owner?
No, he's not here. I'm here representing him. Okay.
You are not the property owner?
No,
Lisa, are we able to have a
Can I get your name though
representative
for the record?
I'm Antroy Nathan.
Okay.
ANTROYNATHAN. I'm working with the builder for construction.
Which at 1212 artists? I don't want to speak for you. I just, from my experience with the MSD hearings on our end, there would have to be an affidavit signed in order to speak on behalf of said property. So I assume you would have similar. And so my only other, if that's true, then my suggestion would have been for him to speak during your public comment.
I haven't encountered this before, so that's a good question for law.
Generally, the way that we process this, and obviously the chair runs the committee meeting, but in order to speak on behalf of the property owner would either have to provide written authorization or be here with an individual to kind of work together, but without anything specifically from the property owner directly authorizing.
We talked to him on the phone.
Generally, I'm not the chair. I would say that my concern about over a phone is that we have no way to verify who this individual is.
Right. No, I understand that. We would need some sort of verification, or I don't know if they had emailed or contacted our office to ask for a
Both phone number,
representative.
Ken, and an email.
But did,
Yeah, I sure.
And I think the other thing is, Troy, it's a pretty protracted process, as you've heard. So what we're going to consider is moving this out of committee today to set a show cause hearing as part of council. So, and we communicate with you guys at every turn. So there will be an opportunity at, what's the day it's actually going to be out there to set a show cause hearing.
February 24th.
So February 24th, right? Again, March 10th would be the show cause hearing. It would then be referred back to this committee for final consideration before it goes back out to council.
It's not a
So
big deal.
There's a lot of touch points. Yeah.
Okay. So he's good. He wanted to make sure somebody was here on behalf of his plan, so I let him know Get the date and all.
He'll receive a notice.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. You guys have a blessed day. Yep.
Raleigh?
Sure. Toto Park, this goes back to a red tag on June 28th of 2020. This is another fire damaged structure. 9 premise violations since the property was tagged. More recently in 24 was a grass enforcement. You'll see, I'm not going to go through each one, but you'll see a variety in the internal report I gave you, building safety activities, everywhere from building permits, electrical, mechanical, and even a plumbing. And unfortunately, one of them was fully approved and finished up. All of the others have since expired. So if this he left, but if this person was working with a builder, we don't have any active permits. It was heard at the August MSD meeting with a 90-day make safe or demolish. Clearly was not achieved, and so that's why we have it before you. Department's recommendation is to move to set a show cause hearing.
Any questions?
Just a quick, we were talking about you.
That's
It's
okay.
hot in here.
That's okay.
It's very hot. That's what that conversation was. I have no questions.
I have
No, I don't
fans in mind.
I would, since there are no questions and nobody here to comment, I would move to show cause hearing from our staff.
Okay, we have a proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Okay, show cause hearing will be set for March 10th at 7 p.m. Okay, item E, resolution to set a show cause hearing, make safe or demolish 3134 Viking Road. Do you have a property owner for Viking?
Yes,
Can I get your name for the record?
Brian Helmut.
Raleigh, if you could please.
Absolutely. Yep. Good to see you, Brian. 3134 Viking. This was red tagged in May of 2021. Fire damage. It was later began NEAT team enforcement in October of 2021. I understand, and Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe, Brian, you purchased this from the Ingham County tax auction.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in that, and Brian will correct me where I'm wrong, I believe there was some misinformation on the county treasurer's end of not noting that this was a red tag property. So I met with Brian in April before. I know there was some confusion when they bought this. I don't believe you knew it was red tag.
We knew it was red tag because the sticker was on the window,
Sure.
but we didn't know it was on demolish order.
Got it.
So that's a different process than just it being red tagged and then brought up to code.
Fair enough. And so we did restart the MSD process and had a hearing because of the previous rule set being followed not to be the current one. So we did hear this back in August of 24, and it was ordered in 90 days to make safe or demolish. We've not achieved occupancy, nor has it then the other option to demo. There's a variety of building permit activity. There's all trade permits have been issued.
I was gonna say I should have all 4 permits.
The only 2, Brian, I'll make mention of is your building permit and mechanical permit did expire in November.
Yes.
And just,
I called, I was trying to get an extension on them.
Sure.
But obviously it's the property's taking me longer to fix up than I anticipated.
sure,
So looks like they didn't extend
sure.
permits like I asked.
And I'll finish, Ryan, you'll get certainly a chance to address the committee, and I can happy to help you with those. So we did have trade permits. 2 are expired. Happy to work with Brian to get the 2 that have expired back open. But your electrical and plumbing will expire this May, unless there's inspections.
And I have the electrical on, I have pictures on my phone as well, if anyone would like to see them. I have the electrical on the first floor finished, and I'm working on the plumbing right now. I have pictures of that as well.
I would note, Brian, and then I'll pass it back to you, Chairwoman. Outside of our recommendation today to be moving to set show cause hearing, Brian, if you're talking about electrical work, we've not had any inspections requested, and so just a
No.
reminder.
No, it's just the first floor. It's got a basement, so I only have the first floor.
We need rough-ins, and so if you're doing wiring and covered that up with drywall. all of that
No, I haven't done any dry, and that's why the mechanical or the building permit is expired, because that's
Fair
for the insulation and the drywall. And
I just want to hear the words done, and I see no inspection.
First floor,
It makes my-
first floor electrical's done,
Sure.
meaning the rough-in is finished, and now I'm on to the basement,
Next.
but I have to stub the walls out. If
Sure.
the basement's gonna be finished, and to do that, I need to clean the walls, and to clean the walls, I need the plumbing done, because I need the water
Sure.
turned on to clean the walls.
Sure.
It's just,
Sir, does that cover your portion of permits, or do you have more that? I think we're.
I have quite a
kind
bit
of
more.
caught up.
I'm sorry, go ahead, you finish, and then I'll speak.
I'm
when
good.
it's my turn.
You're set?
Yep.
Okay, please go ahead.
Just that, what he said, I bought the house at the tax auction. It was the only home. I've been to the tax auction about 6 years now. both of them. There's 2 a year. I bought 2 other homes. So this is the 3rd home I bought. And this is the only one out of all of those auctions that wasn't released, that it was on demolish order. They have them in the auction packets and they have 2 little asterisks down there, or 3 little asterisks or 1 little asterisk, and it tells you what the property's got going on. This one, I didn't know it was on demolish order. Well, I purchased it with the intention of fixing it up on the weekends. It's just me. I'm not a Kruger Construction. I'm just a handyman. We purchased it to move in, me and my wife and my son. And I'm doing work on it. I'm just not as fast as per se a 6-man crew that pulls in, $250,000 sales a year. I'm just not that fast. So I'm working on it as fast as I can. I have a special needs son. He goes to the school out in Mason. So he goes from 8:40 to 2:40. That's literally my window in the day that I can work on this house. So I don't even have that much of a window. Right now, it's been winter. It's been really cold. These last couple months, I haven't really been over there much at all because there's no heat in the property. I know these are all excuses and it has nothing to do with you guys. But I feel like everybody has a story. So I'm just trying to tell you a little bit of the story of why it's taking me so long.
I appreciate your sharing that.
I do have pictures on my phone of the home today. All of these pictures that you guys have me, it looks absolutely completely different than that. These look awful. And when I see these, I can 100% understand why I'm in the position that I'm in right now. But the home is all open stud now. So it's literally no different than a new construction home at the moment. There's no insulation, there's no drywall, it's all open stud. I'm in the process of, I got the first floor wiring finished, roughed in. I'm working on the basement now. I'm doing the plumbing right now. Like I said, I have the pictures on my phone to show that. I've had a landscape company come in and there was like a couple big ponds in the yard, one in the front, one in the back. Those have been filled in, leveled out. So like I'm making progress on the home. It's just not as fast as the city would like it to be, nor as fast as I would like it to be. I would like to be done. I've already actually paid over $10,000 in taxes in this property since I've owned it, and I haven't been able to use it at all. So I'm just as, like, I would really like, if I could snap my fingers and be done tomorrow, I would.
Yeah, and the problem is that it has been red tagged since 2021. And
Well, yeah, but I didn't even own it then.
well, right, but it was red tagged since 2021. And much like you've heard comments previously this afternoon, it affects the entire neighborhood when there is a home.
I 100% understand. I didn't even get to the property till 2024. So I feel like to say it's been red tagged 2021 is not fair to me because that doesn't have anything to do with me.
Rolly, could you answer a question for me? It was my understanding that at the auctions themselves, I think they're at the Lansing Center or a variety of locations, but it's my understanding that there are staff members from your department at each auction that could potentially look up that information for anyone who's interested in purchasing a property at auction. And they would have been informed had they asked your team
Sure.
that this was on the make safe demolish list, or it was, any other information that maybe wasn't listed in the packet.
I would say a couple of things. To your question, yes, first and foremost, yes. Lansing code enforcement team or other members, sometimes building safety has gone as well. At minimum, we usually have 2 staff. They do a speech at the beginning, introduce who they are, and then county treasurer is kind enough to give us a table outside so that folks can come and ask immediate questions about permit activity or what does red tag monitoring mean and so forth. So absolutely, we remain committed to that partnership. Any information on the tagging of a property is also on the public side of BSNA. Certainly, I encourage anybody I come across to interested in buying property wherever in the state of Michigan, check the public side of BSNA to know. We did have a back and forth with the county treasurer. We showed him the email we sent in May of that year. It was up for auction to prove that we did share that information. Unfortunately, it didn't make it into his packet. So I could see why from the packet standpoint, that information. But again, I always challenge.
To validate that
We are there.
the information is available on that day to anyone who is interested in purchasing a property.
Final comment I would say for you too is red tags follow property, stay with a property, not necessarily a person.
Permits, 6 months expiration, is that all permits?
For the most part, unless we receive communication from the person requesting the permit. for an
Just the
extension.
default is 6 months.
Yep, and usually that includes an outreach by building safety, say, hey, you know, what's going on? Do you want this extended before we close it out?
I would also like to say one more thing. We,
Sorry, just, are you finished?
I sympathize with your situation, but, you know, you mentioned that it's been cold the last few months, so you haven't been over there to do work. You've known your back is to the wall.
much work.
I would have been over there working like a busy beaver to get things done.
I mean, that sounds easy, but like I said, it's just me. So I have a special needs son. He's been,
Oh, I
he's actually at the hospital right now with my wife.
I'm very sorry
She's,
about that.
she's was getting her master's degree these last 33 months. She just graduated in January, so like now I have time to invest in this more than I had previously.
I guess I would tell you then, if you're gonna go to a future auctions, that perhaps you should check your time before you purchase a house if you don't have the time to do it.
Well, I bought one in Weberville. It was red tagged and it took me a little over a year to finish. And I didn't have any of these issues in Weberville.
We're not Weberville.
I understand that. But I'm just saying, like,
That
it's
was
my
all I had.
third home I bought.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the same thing, with all due respect, sir. If I am going to make an investment such as this, it's a business decision. I'm making sure I did my due diligence. I'm making sure, particularly when I buy a fire damage structure that, and you said knowingly, right? You bought this, and it was red tag. Then I have to determine, do I have the money? Do I have the capacity? The municipality I'm working in, do I understand their processes? It was, you know, maybe it wasn't the best business decision at the time. Hopefully this works out at some point. But with that being said, I don't see any reasons to halt the process at this point. So I won't set the show cause here.
Excuse me, we have a motion on the table, so, you know, I think it's been said, we heard your,
I wasn't even allowed to get a permit for the first 8 months that I owned the home. They refused me a permit because it was on demolish order. If you remember, I came and sat down and you went over there and told them to issue me the permits because I was supposed to have permits in order to fix it. That was 8 months I owned the home before I was even allowed. I paid about $7,000 in taxes before I could even put my hands on the house. So from the time I purchased it till the first permit was about 8 months of just it sitting there dull because I wasn't allowed in it or to work on it. So like, I feel like I'm being treated unfair from buying this property from the city auction that was red tagged in 2021 that I didn't get a hold of for almost 3 years over the red tag. And then when I got it, it was still another 8 months before I was even allowed to even put my hands on the property.
now, we do have a motion, so I want to acknowledge that. We can't speak to the permit that you were or were not able to obtain.
He can, he was there. He was the one that had them issue it for me. So he's there, he
This
can.
committee can't.
But you could ask him if I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying, like, I'm not lying about that. It's not, my purpose of coming to this meeting today was because I wanted to have it kicked back to code enforcement, because the home is not in that much of a it doesn't, like, I have pictures, I wanted my wife to print them off so I can hand them out. It doesn't look remotely anything close to this. It's literally like a new construction home right now. I am physically working on the property. I've begged for code enforcement to come out and look at the property. They refuse to come out and look at the property. Like, there was another thing that I wanted to say as well. Oh, and Raleigh also mentioned that he would refund my building permits because it took so long to get them, and then that never happened.
That part I do remember. And that part, unfortunately, I don't want to speak for finance department, but our city completely underwent and overhauled our complete financial system. And so
Well, that's what I'm
certainly
saying.
on my list of that. I think it's my turn though, and I want to respect the level of decorum that the chairperson is trying to maintain
I
here.
understand. I'm just.
So understanding though would not be talking while somebody else is talking. I don't remember the full 8-month timeline. I'm happy to go back in my notes and send that to you. I think with respect to the process, today is just one step. It's not the end. They're going to vote to set a show cause. It'll come back to committee. So this isn't the end. You'll have a chance to talk to all of their colleagues here in March, and then you'll have a chance to come back to the committee. I don't want to speak for them, but progress, in my experience with this body, offers them the ability to give you more time.
I will say, and I will speak for myself, not the full committee, but the charge here and the way that I like to move forward is to make properties safe so that we don't have to, keep you on a list. Anything that you can show when, during show cause or the next steps that are coming up, Raleigh is correct. There is time for you to work in here to, work with ED&P, submit updated photos, whatever it is, after you speak with Raleigh that is determined where you can get to the point to make this property safe, you do have a little time to work with, but we also have to respect the process that we must work within according to the laws and ordinances of the city. So, I appreciate that you've been working diligently as you can to do what you can with the time that you have. And I understand it's a frustration for you, but we do have to respect the laws and ordinances that we have to work within as well. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
There's already a motion on the
Oh,
floor.
okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. And sir, the show cause hearing will be on March 10th at 7 p.m. in front of the full council.
Can I try to set time for public comments now, or can I say something about the property? Because
So when you address the full council, you're going to have a chance to speak to every one of us that serve
understand that,
us.
but there's one more thing I would really like to say. At the last meeting I had at the Make Safe or Demolish order, there was a young lady that was before me. She had a property that was of some type of historical something. And she had got a grant for $750,000 to fix this house. She showed the council the grant. She showed the council the contract she had through the Wolverine or whoever it was that was fixing it. And they removed this property from demolish order and allowed her to finish working on the property. I begged them to do that for me at every single demolished order that I've come to. I have the funding and I am currently working on the house. So I don't understand why she got special treatment in a sense, in my eyes, and got her house taken off demolish order without doing anything. She hasn't worked on it or done nothing. They weren't even going to break the ground or start the work for like 3 months or something. But they took hers off demolish order because she had funding and a grant from Michigan for $750,000. So they took her, but I don't understand why I'm not getting that same courtesy when I'm physically working on the house. I have pictures to show that it's being worked on. I've pulled the permits. I'm doing everything that I can do on my end other than fixing it faster.
And again, I can't speak for the demo board or how they came to the decisions that they made. I don't control that decision making. I'm not.
I understand that.
That board.
They literally told me you guys could kick it back to and they literally said that when I come to this meeting that you guys have the authority to kick it back to building enforcement.
So I would encourage you to speak with Raleigh and his staff after this meeting concludes, or
I've had
whatever.
several meetings with Raleigh about this house.
We've met once.
Available. So we do have an agenda to keep and we do need to move forward. But again, you do have some time to work with. You will have the chance to address the entire council.
I don't understand. So
And so
what does that do
you're going
when I
to,
go speak to the entire council? Because if it's the same process, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't understand.
so this is the process. You're going to have a chance to come before the entire council, advocate for your property, advocate for more time as you'd like. You can submit additional documentation.
So
The hope is that you will be able to work with the ED&P along the way and come up with a solution here so that your property can be made safe according to the city standards.
I understand that
So
part,
that would be the next.
the city
step.
standard part. So you're saying that that March 10th, they have the authority to kick it back to building enforcement?
So March 10th is the show cause hearing. So they're going to bring it back to committee. It's not, I don't know that it would be stopped, pulled, what have you, but that it is your opportunity to speak to more than the three of us. You will have the opportunity to speak to the full council.
At what point do I ever have the ability to get it put back into code enforcement?
So
It's,
That's just not a thing?
please.
So a couple of things. Number one, and this is for anybody that's in the room, it can be disposed of as part of this committee's process. right? It can be, when it comes back here after the show cause hearing, we could table it for a meeting or two. What I will tell you is that ultimately is this committee and this council's decision, should we move forward with an actual make safe and demolish order. But I want to be very clear here, the committee's work is done at this table. We expect for folks to be working with our building department. We expect for folks to be putting timelines together that work, that are amenable. We expect that there is some financial wherewithal demonstrated. We expect that permit activity is, you've been somewhat active.
I've checked all those boxes.
Want to make sure that inspections are scheduled, all of those things. And so we take a recommendation from the building department. So what I've heard her say a number of times is you really want to, in between now and March 10th, and then March 10th, obviously in the committee meeting, you really want to be working with the building department. Okay. And that's all we ultimately do, decide if we're going to dispose of this or if we're going to move this before the entire council. But again, we take our recommendations from the building department.
What you're saying is get in there, finish the electrical, finish the plumbing. I mean, I'm so confused.
I would give it to Raleigh's department.
Okay, we're going to move on to item G. Okay,
2407 Dunlap.
thank you. Resolution on 2407 Dunlap. Do we have the property owner here for the property? Can you name please? Follow your report on this property?
Absolutely, thank you. 2407 Dunlap was tagged in September of 2020. Well, it was originally tagged in May of 2021, so I think the Excel spreadsheet has a slight typo. It says 9, but it was May of 2021. It was fire damaged structure, a variety accumulation of trash and debris at that time, damaged plumbing, soil waste, soil vent, water distribution. Gas meter had been removed. Looked to appear a furnace had been installed at that time without a permit, albeit it was tagged. It was then later heard for a make safe or demolition hearing in August of 2024 with a 90-day order by said officer at that time. As you heard me with the other addresses, to comply that order would have had to have been demolished. No, would have had to then also to be made safe, suitable for occupancy. You will see with this one, different from some of the others we've heard today, there has been steady progress on the variety of trade permits issued and pulled as far as today. And congratulate Hameen and his team they passed their frame inspection that was scheduled for today. That was approved. A live update by Meredith here a few minutes ago. You see there's a variety of other trade permits. All trade permits have been issued, a remodel for building as well as a siding. And then there's an electrical, mechanical, and plumbing permit based on our monthly need team that was done on February 6th of this year. Property remains secure, signs of work being done, which is good. Still, the department is recommending you vote it out for a show cause hearing. But I'd like to say, I don't want to hypothesize too much, but if progress still continues, I think you'll see us recommend either a table or that this be discharged.
Sir, do you have comments?
Like you mentioned, we had a frame inspection before cover-up today was approved, was done. Last week, the mechanical was approved, so there's heat, and we were just, as this week coming up, we're putting the installation and do another follow-up for inspection for that, and then drywall. Again, there's progress is being done, but like I said, we had a delay due to getting the gas meter installed, and the company told us that we had to get extended time because they had to do a floor plan for it. So that slowed me down. I can't jump from one thing to another if one thing is stopping. So that's what it is. So progress is being made. It's just, that kind of delayed it. And as the record showed, he mentioned it, that it's moving.
Any questions from the committee?
No, I appreciate that there's been an earnest effort, that there's collaboration with the department. I know this is your first time coming before this body. With all of that fantastic news, what I'm going to do is make a motion that we still move forward with the show cause hearing. But it sounds like as long as this progress continues, we'll have some real conversations to have when it comes back to committee. So with that being said, I'll move to set the show cause hearing.
Okay, we have a proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. The show cause hearing will be set for March 10th at 7 p.m. in front of the full council. Okay, and we are to the resolutions that show cause hearing 204 East Kavanaugh Road. Sir, are you the property owner for East Kavanaugh Road?
No, I'm the property owner for 1212 Parkview. One of my representatives was here a few minutes, I was coming from another city, so I wanted to be able to participate in the discussion.
Well, just a moment. We are currently on this separate property.
I understand that you asked me a question and I responded to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Raleigh, Kavanaugh?
Sure. So I don't think we have anybody representing the property here today for Kavanaugh. 204 East Kavanaugh was red tag in June 27th of 2022. This was a fire damaged property. It was began 90 days after in 2022. We'll go over the variety of building permit activity here shortly. We did bring this before a hearing officer in August of 2024. And the order at that time was a 60-day MSD, or that was a recommendation. Since property owner didn't comply with that, wasn't made safe, wasn't torn down, and so it's here before you today. We'll say there's been a variety of building permit activity, at least across the building trade, electrical trade, and plumbing trades. However, this property did change ownership in January 9th of this calendar year. And so that first building permit you heard or see on your list, that had to be closed. And then they will have to pull a new permit. And so we have not heard from those new owners of that, but all other permit activity has expired. We do have some recent activity from code enforcement on February 1st. Officer Johnson actually was called out for a frozen broken pipe. Board Water and Light had to shut off water at the street. And so we haven't seen any recent activity either from the previous owner or when we move this forward to you, nor have we seen it from the new owner. And so certainly the department's recommendation at this time would be to put it out to schedule a show cause hearing.
Right, so it was purchased in January of 25.
That's what assessing is showing.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? I would entertain a motion on this property.
So moved.
Okay, we have a proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the show cause hearing on 204 East Kavanaugh will be held on March 10th at 7 p.m.
Can I make a comment? I will, largely for sure, I'll see if we have any contact info. I doubt we do for the new owner.
I was going to ask.
It looks like it's a Swift Acquisition LLC, so I'll see what I can find out for you guys.
Okay. Thank you very much, Raleigh. Sir, I understand that you have come to the meeting to address your property. We had moved forward on our agenda, and there is a show cause hearing set for March 10th at 7 p.m. Where you'll have the opportunity to come before full council.
This will be my first show cause hearing. What do I need to bring to that? I mean, to give you the progress on the property.
Sure. So one thing you can do, again, Raleigh, I see you pulling out your card, is work with ED&P to get some more detailed information on items that you could bring forward.
Okay.
We're looking to, what we would like to see here through this committee, and I'm sure council would appreciate, is to see progress that has been made, steps that have been made toward making that property safe.
Okay. And also quickly, I know you passed the conversation of this property. We're making significant progress on that property. I mean, what held us for about 2 months was the HVAC guy, and they installed it today. The HVAC is installed. We got all the permits. We're on schedule with the exception of the HVAC. And we're looking to get this done because it's been a long time coming. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I do appreciate the city of Lansing for accommodating what we're doing. They've been very cooperative in working with us. So you guys have done a fantastic job. Our goal is to make it livable. And I'm working on probably over 15 buildings that are similar to that same situation in the city of Lansing that, scheduled for demolition or fire burn and getting them ready for, to make it livable for people. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this even though I'm transitioning between Florida and Lansing, but I want to be part of City of Lansing. I'm not living in City of Lansing, and my group have done a lot of things in the city, and we want to continue that. I do not want you know, to be honest, from which I spent over $180,000 on this property.
I appreciate that. And if you could continue working with our city department so that we can move this property forward, that would be fantastic.
I appreciate it.
So thank
You guys
very
are
much.
fantastic. Thank you very much. Everybody on the city, they've been very cooperative and supportive, okay?
Thank you.
You guys enjoy the rest of the week.
We do have item H, a discussion on the 30 oldest neat properties. I do recognize it is about 5 minutes past 5. Would we like to discuss, or would we like to table this item until our next meeting?
We can table until the next meeting, because I've already got things that I got questions on.
Yeah.
That I want to come prepared so I can rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay, perfect. Well, the meeting is adjourned at 5:05. 5:05. Thank you.
He's not kidding.
Well, that's it.
I will, when did we watch the other day? It was Leslie Nielsen did a movie where he was a fugitive